listening to the Ecosystem Approach show. I'm Jason.
And I'm Patricia. Tune in every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time and 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Transformation Talk Radio.
We discovered that human potential is severely limited when you program humans like a machine, which is standard practice today for self-improvement.
The Ecosystem Approach teaches you how to uncover your infinite potential by using natural methods that are truly revolutionary. Join us now for the Ecosystem Approach show. We've had so many people talk to us over the years about their fears and concerns about turning into their parents. Yeah, I can understand that one. We've observed lineages of negative and destructive energies passed through generations of families. Are you turning into your parents? Do you struggle with toxic lineages from your family? Are you afraid of being affected with health issues and behavior issues, and even worse, connected to your family? We know what you're talking about. We know what you're feeling, and we'll put it that way. We are married intuitives with over 20 years experience who created the Ecosystem Approach for you. This is much different because we see human beings as ecosystems that need to be restored instead of programmed. We show you how to take an energy approach for internal discovery that is rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. Jason, you have to explain. It's your job to explain this topic about turning into your parents. Is this about behavior or DNA or something else?
Well, the motivation for this show was that Geico, is it a Geico commercial? I don't even know. It's Progressive, I think.
Yeah, some insurance company.
Yeah, some insurance company about turning into your parents. And I love the humor of it because
well, geeks, first off, it rings true.
Yeah, the geeks are on high gear in that one. So
out in force.
Yes.
Yes.
But the truth is that we've talked to clients over, all the clients that we've seen over 20 years, more than 20 years now. We've had so many people say, "Oh my gosh, I can't turn into my parents. Oh, I don't want to turn into my parents.
Right.
Am I turning into my parents?"
Yes.
That sort of thing.
Yes.
And we even observe this. You have a big family. My family's smaller, but I even noticed that my mom, who lives with us, she has dementia. But I see these behaviors that on one hand that are like my dad, who's dead and gone, and then some things that I see that, oh my gosh, do I do that? Oh, yuck.
And I have to admit, he hasn't asked me because he knows I'll tell him. But that's not the issue at the moment. What we're talking about here, what we're trying to get everyone to become aware of is, first off, there are energies that pass through the generations of a family. And some of them are good, some of them not so good. And we want to bring this to everyone's attention because we can help you remove negative energies that make you, well, not make you look like your parents, but make you act like your parents.
So let's unpack that and see what it's really all about.
Good.
Children learn by observation, not by direct teaching, like in school. You don't. Families don't. Your parents don't get up and say, "Okay, this is how we act. Now here's
these are the rules of how to act,
and you're going to be tested at the end."
Exactly.
They just watch, and so if you fight amongst each other, if parents fight by yelling and screaming,
right,
there's a good chance that the child will
pick up that behavior and do
married,
the same.
And all of a sudden they're yelling and screaming and say, "Where did that come from?"
Right.
Or sometimes they're so repulsed by certain behaviors that they see with their parents, they do just the opposite, which in terms of energy is probably just as worse.
Just as bad.
Yes, where they won't fight at all.
Correct.
Or they won't interact, or they shut down.
In other words, they shut down and shut up. Yes.
So we get that because of programming, because with the way we parent collectively
Yes.
is not about uncovering who they are. And uncovering, we mean energetically.
Correct.
Using the ecosystem approach, we program our children.
Yes.
You know, these are our values. These are,
yes.
You should be polite. You should, these are values that you should have. But for the most part, those are programming. And there's nothing wrong with instilling values. I want to make the distinction. But when you start to instill values without uncovering who they are at the same time,
correct, what
happens is that they look to programming or imitation to see how they act.
That's correct.
So, and the behaviors that we're talking about are the ones that are toxic and negative and hurtful to others. And let's talk about
and even to ourselves.
Yes.
Okay. So yes, some examples, Jason.
The way couples fight, that's the biggest. I mean, yelling and screaming, the silent treatment. Right. If couples have fought, if they observe their parents giving each other silent treatment as punishment,
yes,
that's what they do.
Yes.
If their spouse does something wrong, they punish them. It doesn't make any sense if you think about it. When you say it out loud, it doesn't sound like that's a really good
as
thing
opposed to communicating
or talking or this bothers me.
Yes.
How do you feel about it? Blah blah blah.
And I want to put right in here. He's going to talk about more behaviors, but the bottom line is that you and I have seen that when we clear the negative energy, there is no yelling and screaming. There is a form of communicating that in the beginning you and I didn't even understand because it isn't what we were taught.
Well, and we knew that we didn't want to imitate our parents when we got together.
Hands down.
And that we'd come from dysfunctional relationships anyways.
Yes.
It was the secret. We're going to talk about marriage. That's kind of upcoming topic, I think. Okay. But and I hate to use the word secret because it's not really a secret, but our methodology is for our connection that we have is based on removing the negative energy. And
when you remove the negative energy, the old patterns of programmings and trainings, they're not there. And so we've learned to, Jason and I have learned, because of the ecosystem approach, we've learned that we don't go at each other, but we sit down and we clear and then we talk.
So those lineages get interrupted.
They really do. Absolutely.
And not that we've overcome every single one.
Oh,
another good example is how people get sick. Do they get really quiet? Do they feel entitled? Do they reak of self-pity?
Well, you can keep going. He's talking about my family here, by the way. But that's, but the bottom line is those are things we were taught.
Another good one is eating habits. If something bad happens, do you consume a quart of ice cream?
Make it a gallon and I'll agree with you.
A lot of times you learn that in your family.
Absolutely.
These overweight conditions even run in families.
Absolutely.
Problem solving.
Well,
one of the things that my dad did is he made us hyper aware of electrical usage. Very common, very much like the commercial. Okay, turning off lights, that sort of thing.
Right.
My mom goes around and turns off lights, and I ask her, well, why'd you do that? And she said, well, the light was on. I mean, she doesn't even think about, well, why should the light be on or not be on?
Right.
The light was on.
And by the way, sometimes I've been in the room and she turns the light out.
Yeah. There's no rhyme or reason to it. It becomes compulsive.
In
other words, it happens. You do these behaviors without thinking. They're unconscious.
Right. And Jason, you have one about my family.
This is what I love. When I first got together with Patricia, you have two other sisters and
I have many other sisters and brothers.
Yeah. So all of a sudden I had
one of the first events he ever went to, and notice I said events. One of the first events he went to was the Thanksgiving dinner. And
her family gets together for all the holidays, and it's a big thing.
It's a tradition.
Yes. There are rules around that.
Yes.
If I was going to say goodbye at the end of when we were leaving, I would say, hi, everybody, I'm going, bye, see ya. And the rule in her family is you have to go around to everybody,
individual,
and
correct.
say goodbye and say
Yes.
how much, just make a little small talk.
Yes.
And I remember my
standing,
brother-in-law,
standing next to one of my brother-in-laws.
And he was
making a joke, but
he was making a joke, but it was also
sideways.
How hard it is to get his wife,
my sister,
out of the house, when it's time to go.
Right.
And he'll be sitting in the car for a half hour,
Right.
and she's still,
and with the gas shortages, he's learned don't turn the engine on until he sees her face walk out the door. And I realize that we're making a joke, but the bottom line is that that was the rule in my family, that you were required, and if you didn't do that, that was very poor manners.
So here's the most important part.
Okay.
These behavioral compulsions are intangible, and they can be cleared.
Yes, they can.
You can't see them. You can't put your finger on them.
Yes.
But they're energies.
Yes.
If you go to a psychologist, they'll deal with whatever's causing the problem, and they'll clear it. But I guarantee you that negative energy of compulsion affects other areas of your life. And most of it's probably unconscious.
And you don't.
One of the things when you go to a therapist, So she taps me under the desk
to tell them we're running out of time.
Yes. So but they're energies, and they can be cleared, and most of them are unconscious. We're not aware of them.
No.
And when you go to a therapist to work with this, it doesn't make you more conscious. No. And we'll talk about that some more.
All right. So Jason, what are the key points of this segment?
We turn into our parents because we imitate their behaviors, both good and bad, especially the bad ones.
Yes.
We all have compulsive behaviors that are unconscious. Psychology doesn't work with them very well.
No.
The ecosystem approach using energy clearing helps you see them and remove them so you don't do them compulsively. Mm-hmm. And the ecosystem approach helps you have self-knowledge using clearing so you can clear the bad behaviors and not be a victim to them.
Love it. In the next segment, we're going to talk about how curses, contracts, and DNA pass energetically through your parents onto you. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to talk about curses, contracts, and DNA that passes energetically through your parents to you. We are married intuitives with over 20 years experience who created the Ecosystem Approach for you. This is much different because we see human beings as ecosystems that need to be restored instead of programmed. We show you how to take an energy approach for internal discovery that is rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. Jason, most people don't even know what a curse is, a real curse, or contracts, or they wouldn't believe that they even exist. I thought your DNA, this is my thinking, I thought your DNA is set and you can't change that.
Well, there's a couple of ideas here. So let's take the first.
All right.
Most people think of curses and contracts are for those who are not grounded in reality. And, because when we say curse, we think of witchcraft and these weird things. What we've seen after 20 years of doing this work, that when you start looking at energy, the idea of curses is very, very commonplace.
And not to mention, when I've helped someone clear a curse, get rid of a curse, the difference in even their demeanor it's quite interesting.
It's very, very powerful.
Yes, very much.
Contract, just for those of you, this is words that we've used. Some people use it in this energy community, but a contract is when you have an unspoken agreement.
Yes.
That happens in an unconscious way up here, not
in a whole different dimension. We'll say it that way. And the interesting part is, and I happen to know this to be true, you can carry curses and contracts from lifetime to lifetime.
Yes.
And they can, and the more you carry them, the more devastating, because they collect more negative energy along the way.
And for those who believe that they're grounded in reality, these are the data people, the scientists
Sure.
who think that that's all there is. And by the way, we have a lot of people who are our clients, who've been clients for a long time, who have advanced degrees, PhDs
In science. That's
yes,
correct.
that they're very scientific, but they know that there's something else.
Yes.
And that's how we would put it.
Yes.
That we don't really we don't take issue with science directly, but we add color to it.
Yeah, we sure do.
And so okay, so that's curses and contracts.
Okay.
The DNA is a big deal. And if you are just looking at data, you never get this other part. But your DNA is not the last
word.
We see, and this is what the ecosystem approach is all about.
Okay.
Your essence is the center of your ecosystem.
Correct.
For you personally, your essence, what some people call it soul, is the center of your ecosystem. And because we only refer to soul in terms of romantic terms, oh, you're my soulmate, or this is my soul purpose. We don't really, we use romantic terms to acknowledge it, but we don't really understand how to use it.
Correct.
And that's what we teach you. Listen every week to our show. We're talking about how to use your essence, how to use energy to impact your essence in a way that really affects your life.
Yes.
So when people say, okay, I've got this, this DNA says I have the breast cancer gene or something else.
Well, that's a really good one. I'm sorry, I'm going to bring that one up. The breast cancer gene. And by the way, I know it exists. I'm not putting it down whatsoever.
But where does it come from?
And I know exactly where it comes from.
Why does this person have it
and this one, or this sister has it and that sister doesn't?
Yes.
And in my family, my mother died from the results of breast cancer. And the bottom line is that I know that my mother took negative energy that she was hurt by or as things went on in her life, and she held things close to her breast, close to her heart, which are very close together, and she never got rid of it. And what happened is it turned into toxic energy, and she ended up with breast cancer.
So here's the problem.
Okay.
Science can't perceive essence.
No.
The way you perceive your essence, your soul, is via your intuition, which science doesn't give credence to.
Right.
And intuition is a pathway.
Correct.
To your essence, and you connect with it intuitively.
Right.
And because of programming and the way we understand the world, which is former programming.
Correct.
It's dumbed down our ability to use our intuition and therefore connect with our essence and know how it works and use it in a way that makes sense.
Well, and you know what I'm going to bring up, because I see it here on the list of things to talk about: weight loss, weight gain in a family. Oftentimes you see a family and they're all overweight. Well, I guarantee you that it's not DNA, it's negative energy that they're holding on to and that they're trained to hold on to. And you don't have to be overweight. If you start using the ecosystem approach today, you can actually start losing weight.
There's a lot of programs out that talk about the science of weight loss,
yes,
which is these you've had these patterns, so they're going to use psychology to help you break the patterns. Well, the truth is they don't break the patterns.
No.
And I had a client who worked one of the popular ones, and it was very effective for her because it gave her a structure that she needed.
Right.
But we were the ones that cleared the negative energy that was attached to her.
And therefore, she's been able to actually keep that weight off.
Yes, she has.
And which is pretty phenomenal.
But it's the energy
yes.
that is the root cause.
Yes.
And that's what we want to talk about in terms of curses and contracts, because they're energies and they're the root cause. So if you don't touch that, then you're just kind of playing around.
Correct.
And not getting any results. So we kind of jumped to the DNA. We talked about that, but let's talk about the curses and the contracts.
Okay.
It's based on this idea that you can't solve a problem that you don't understand.
Yeah.
And if curses are the root cause of a lot of these problems, for you personally, whether it's money, health, relationships, any sector in your life, just being happy,
Yeah. Oh, that's a
If you
big
don't look at
That's a
energy,
big one.
you know, we all say, well, we want to be happy, but most of us don't have any idea what it takes to be happy.
No,
You know,
we don't. Or why this person's happy and this person isn't. And by the way, it has not anything to do with money.
and exactly, our culture defines that if you have money, then you're going to be happy. And we have so many people that have money and they're not happy.
And
Oh
they are
my
not.
gosh, you know,
Yes.
it's almost like there's got to be something really wrong with me
Right.
because I have everything that I've wanted,
Right.
and I'm not happy. Well, duh, it's the curses and the contracts that are unconscious.
That is correct.
And again, you can't solve a problem that you don't understand.
Well, and the energies
and we're getting really animated about this.
I know, because
it's so obvious to us
Yes.
now after working in this energy perspective
for so
but
long.
it's so invisible in the way we do our the way we implement life
Yeah.
here in our culture,
Mhm.
in other cultures. It's all about programming, which is
Right.
focus on the goal. Everything goes away. Just focus on getting the goal, making that work, and then all this other stuff that's affecting us becomes invisible.
Well, and the worst problem with that is that I'm going to go back to my mother and the breast cancer. The bottom line is she would focus on certain things in her life, which, okay, that great. But the problem is she never did anything about the negative energy. And by the way, my mother did a lot of energy type work herself. My mother was very intuitive, but she didn't know how to use it with knowing.
Well, and we say that a lot. Okay. What's unique about the ecosystem approach is that we understand the core issue and we focus
Yes.
our clients on that issue over and over and over again. A lot of programs have validity,
Mm-hmm.
but their priorities aren't right.
Well, not
because they don't see.
Exactly. And the other thing is that they only focus on one thing. One of the things that we found with the ecosystem approach is that when we focus on one thing, and I guarantee you, I've never seen or worked with anyone, including myself, that something else doesn't pop up somewhere along the line.
We always focus on someone's negative energy,
Yes.
which may affect their money, their relationships, their health.
Correct.
Everything. So it's not like when we have a session with someone, it's not focused on the particular problem always.
Right. Exactly.
It expands to other things.
Exactly.
So when you go to a therapist or behavior experts, they always focus on awareness and willpower. Here's the problem with that.
Yeah.
If I'm going to use willpower to stop doing a certain behavior,
okay,
the minute I get stressed or some other problem that's more important than that comes in, then I have to apply my willpower to that. And as I get older and as I age, my ability to have willpower diminishes.
Yes.
Because it requires physical energy.
And it takes a lot of work for that.
Yes.
But what we found is that when you use the ecosystem approach, it doesn't take a lot of energy. In fact, you actually gain positive energy back by removing that negative energy.
Let me explain that, because when you work from your essence to be authentic in the world doesn't require willpower. No. So to get up in the morning, to lose weight, to feel healthy, when you're coming from your authentic, the authentic part of you with your essence, you remove the negative energy that's attached, that's blocking that. You don't need willpower. It's sustainable. Talk about, it's the ultimate in sustainability.
Yes.
Because those good behaviors that are authentic to you just happen over and over and over. And there's no, in fact, not only do you not need willpower, but your essence gives you energy to do those things.
Exactly.
It wants to express the authentic part of you out in the world. That's a big deal.
It really is.
And if this is talking to you right now, go to our website right now, theecosystemapproach.org, sign up for our free section. Stay with us till the end, and we're going to tell you about how you can learn the ecosystem approach in a way that's completely free right now. So,
exactly. Jason, what are the key points of this segment?
Curses and contracts exist in the energy realm and are the root causes of many difficulties. You can't solve a problem if the true cause is invisible. The energy of the situation is essential information. The root of DNA is your essence, and the trauma and bad energy there influences that DNA. You can always change that. And the ecosystem approach is designed to teach you to be more conscious about your essence and how to influence your DNA.
In the next segment, we're going to talk about how to deal with these energies that pass through a family, especially since science and psychology will not help you or even acknowledge these energies. Whoa. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to talk about how to deal with these energies that pass through a family, especially since science and psychology will not help you or even acknowledge these energies. By the way, we know these energies exist. We're married intuitives with over 20 years experience who created the Ecosystem Approach for you. This is much different because we see human beings as ecosystems that need to be restored instead of programmed. We show you how to take an energy approach for internal discovery that is rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. Okay, Jason, how do you figure out all the energies that pass through a family?
Well, we would never start there. That's way too hard. The ecosystem approach is holistic and it starts with self-knowledge.
Yeah.
And your essence will bring up these issues exactly at the right time for you to work with them.
Oh, that is the truth right there. Yes.
You know, so what we start with is always your emotional story.
Correct.
And so for those of you that haven't heard how we've defined that in the past,
okay,
your emotional story is not what happened to you as a child or what happened to you in terms of your story growing up.
Correct.
It's how you felt about it.
Mm-hmm.
So the same thing can happen to two different people in the same family, and they can have different emotional responses to the same thing.
Correct.
Your emotional story will lead you to the curses. If you start uncovering what your emotional story is, that leads you to the curses and contracts and DNA problems that you have
Correct.
in your emotional story.
Yeah.
So a great example, one of our favorite singers is
Mm-hmm.
Linda Ronstadt. And she, and I pulled this off the internet, she elaborated on the relationship between tick bites and her Parkinson's diagnosis. So she's this amazing singer. We love, we love.
What a voice.
Yeah, it's an amazing voice. And it's ironic that the disease that gets her, first of all, starts. Parkinson's doesn't, she has a very specific diagnosis of Parkinson's, but it started with her voice.
And talk about, well, I'll say it this way, talk about a curse and talk about a contract that first off, Linda, if you're listening, do me a favor, give me a call. I would love to talk to you because I can help you with that, because this curse and this contract that you have that has taken away just this beauty of who you are. You don't need that, my dear.
I mean, she could have had another disease where she's a paraplegic, but she could still sing.
Correct.
I mean, it kind of makes sense if you're very cynical. I mean, what's the worst thing that could happen to Linda Ronstadt?
Is to lose her voice.
Lose her voice. Oh
yes.
my gosh. That's not a coincidence. And if you're not looking in the energetic realm, you're never going to find out what happens. Now, she thought it was a virus that had something to do with a tick bite that switched on a gene that caused her particular type of Parkinson's disease.
Well, and
that all may be true.
I was just going to say that. Exactly. No, exactly. Like minds think alike. Anyway, the bottom line is that, but I'm going to back up and say, what I see is that there's something in her story that has led her to believe that she doesn't deserve to voice the amazing part of who she is.
But there's some sort of curse
yes.
that is running through her family. Now, we know that her grandmother had Parkinson's and her grandfather lost most of his money, his wealth, trying to find a cure for his mother.
His wife.
That can't be a coincidence.
No.
And those things flow in generations. How do you look at it? Well, you look at it through the energetic realm.
Well,
you're not going to go to a scientist to figure this out.
and you know, I'm going to bring up, we have a friend whom, and this, by the way, is actually, from what we understand, not common. I'm not going to say it's rare, but it's not common. Both he and his brother got Parkinson's, and it destroyed them both in a, I'm going to say, a relatively short period of time in their lives. And one of the brothers is gone, and the other one is fighting right now the Parkinson's that he has. But it's very rare that it happens to two in the same family.
Well, and a scientist might say, "What's it's a DNA link?" But what
That's
causes
my point.
that?
That's
what
my
causes
point.
the DNA link? And
Yes.
that's what's not answered.
Yes.
And that's what energy can answer, because that's how you get to it.
Yes.
You know, the same thing happened. My wife died of a particular type of cancer, Hodgkin's disease. 7 years later, my daughter got it in the same spot, in the same stage. It was diagnosed. And they said it was a coincidence. There's no hereditary link for this particular type of cancer. Well, I even back then I thought that doesn't make sense,
because it was right in front of you.
The similarities were so clear.
Now his daughter survived. Thank you, and thank God on that one. I'm very happy,
because we saw the emotional story.
Yes.
We started clearing that.
Yes.
So here's the other thing. Okay. Medical science and psychology narrows your focus to problem solution. So if you have Parkinson's or cancer or whatever,
okay,
that's the problem. So how do you cure it? What's the solution? Okay. And it narrows it. And since science only works with physical things, doesn't work with non-physical things, which is what energy is, subtle energies are, they can't see any of this. They don't know any of this.
Right. And if they do happen to catch a glimpse, they discount it. They
don't want to look at it. They say, oh, well, that may have an effect, but I can't measure it. I can't create data for it.
Right.
I can't understand it in any particular way, other than this way that I've been taught.
Correct.
And that keeps them from seeing it from any other perspective.
Exactly. But I'm sorry, I have to say, but we know that energy exists. We see it. It was one of the very first things that Jason and I, when we met, it didn't take us very long. I'm going to say maybe a couple of weeks at the most, for us to start talking about, do you see energy? Yeah, I see energy. Do you see energy? And we started talking about the things that we saw.
Well, the sexiest thing you ever said to me, I mean, it's okay. It's not gonna. You don't have to put your hands against your children's ears for this. But it's not that I was so handsome or that I was such a great looking guy. It was because she saw my abilities.
I did.
And it was the sexiest thing she could have ever said to me. And she still whispers in my ear all the time with those little sweet nothings. And it makes a,
by the way, we're married.
it makes a big difference,
Well, but, and it's so, one of the most amazing things is, and I have to say, it's totally off the wall, that people get married and then they see how much they don't like each other.
They don't see the energy.
Exactly. That's the point.
And that's going to be a show coming up.
Okay, good.
We're going to work on that.
Good.
But
okay.
Here's the most important part. Okay. And I wanted to get to this. This is not to blame your parents.
No.
If you turn into your parents, if your parents were alcoholic, or if they had rage problems, or they had gambling problems, or whatever,
okay.
It's not about blame. But because these negative behaviors came to them probably the same way that they've come to you.
Correct.
They've passed down through generations. The curses in the world are the root causes of most of the problems today. Correct. And they're completely invisible. It's so frustrating to us.
But the real culprit here is programming
and negative energy, which causes the
programming.
Yeah, programming causes the negative energy.
Because what it does is it takes your broad view. And especially when we're children, we do have broad views, but it narrows it down and says, I have to blame this or that person, or because of that, this happened. And I would say that's not exactly the truth. And it's really a narrow-minded view, a perspective. That's what I meant to say, perspective of not only your life, but who you are.
Yes. So should we do the key points?
Okay, Jason, what are the key points of this segment?
Trying to figure out the energies that pass through a family is never the starting point.
Correct.
You always do start with the emotional story. always start with emotional story and start uncovering the unique details that are personal to you.
Correct.
Everybody's not the same.
Yes.
Looking for physical causes for difficulties always obscures the true source of a problem. And the ecosystem approach teaches you to see and perceive the energies of situations so you can clear the energies, get to the root cause, and make your life better in ways that all these other self-help programs do not.
Well, and I just want to jump in and say one more thing about that. When you start removing root causes, what happens is the weight of the world starts lifting off of your shoulders. And it is one of the most amazing things that can happen. It's awesome. I can't even describe it. So come join us for the ecosystem approach. Start taking care of you today.
So we're going to do some clearing in the next segment. We're going to tell you how to do clearing right now. And then we're going to tell you how you can start changing your life starting right now, starting on this show.
And by the way, it's not scary.
Yes,
it's amazing. It's like, it's empowering. That's what I'm trying to say. When you do this,
you won't grow another head. Or look.
Oh, I could say something here, but I won't. The bottom line is that when you start using the ecosystem approach, there's an empowerment that happens that in any other realm in my life, I have never received to this extent. So Jason, tell everyone how to clear.
Okay. So your posture is not important. You don't have to be reverent. Okay. You can stand up, sit down. Mm-hmm. You can be laying down. You can be walking. You can be doing dishes. You can doing something mindless, exercising while you're clearing. It doesn't matter.
Right.
And so when we say, and to eliminate in your imagination, in your mind's eye, just gather up this, the feelings that we talk about,
That's
fear,
correct.
anger,
yes.
Rage, or veils and illusions or barriers.
Correct.
Gather those up in your mind and blow them into the processor. Lydia's going to put a picture of the processor up right now.
Exactly.
It's like a trash can on wheels.
Yes.
And it actually exists in the non-physical dimension.
Correct.
It takes that negative energy on the top, processes it, and then it comes out neutral in the front.
And by the way, you want to help with the pollution problem today? I'm not only talking about the pollution in our air and around our world, but I'm talking about the pollution of negative energy that has destroyed and is continuing to destroy many of the amazing things around us.
The root cause of climate change is negative energy.
That is correct.
So start with yourself first. Here we go.
So and we'll talk about the second half of this in the next segment. Stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to help you clear so you can see and perceive those pesky behaviors that remind you of the worst of your parents. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. In this segment, we're going to help you clear so you can see and perceive those pesky behaviors that remind you of the worst of your parents and maybe even the worst of you. So, Jason, you ready to go?
Here we go. I direct all my resources in all dimensions to eliminate the barriers so I can see that I don't have to have the behaviors that I don't want that come from my parents.
Take a nice breath and throw that negative energy right into the top of that processor. Remember, once it goes in there, it doesn't come out and it gets processed and it becomes neutral energy. You're helping the environment. I'm going to shorten it up just a little bit and to eliminate the barriers so I can see that the most of my negative behaviors are unconscious and they actually do come from my parents, but I can clear them. Nice and easy. Take a breath and blow it into that processor.
And to eliminate the intense feelings of worry, anxiety, and stress that I have because of behaviors that are like my parents.
Yes.
I'm going to throw one in there, just an extra one.
Okay.
And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that if I didn't have a normal two-person parent, I can still pick up
that lineage
from caregivers and people
Correct.
That have been predominant in my life. Take a breath.
And I don't have to be a victim to them. One more time, take another breath. And to eliminate the feelings of worry and anxiety and stress that I have because of behaviors like my parents. Did we just do that one? No, take a breath, everyone.
Yes.
Okay.
And to eliminate any feelings of fear, hurt, and shame that comes from behaviors that are like my parents.
Yes.
Take a breath.
And to eliminate the barriers so I can see that compulsive behaviors, this is big, are energies and they can be cleared. Take a breath.
And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that programming forces me to act compulsively and unconsciously.
Big one. Take a breath. And to eliminate any feelings of fear and terror that I have about my unconscious behaviors. Take a breath.
And to eliminate the barrier so I can see that DNA issues come from essence and can be cleared.
And to eliminate any intense anger or resentment I have because I feel cursed and a victim. Guess what? It can be cleared. Take a breath.
And to eliminate any resistance I have to seeing that curses are and energies are the root of my family problems.
Yes, take a breath. You know, I have to say this. Jason's mother, she lives with us, and one of the things she said to me when she very first met me, which was not that long ago, she said, you know, after every meal in my family, we always had dessert. And I learned a long time ago that dessert after dinner meant excess weight. And it also is connected to negative energy that we don't need. So I said, I'm glad your family did that. I hope you enjoyed it. I didn't know what else to say.
Well, and the truth was, it didn't happen in my family. It must have been in her family.
It was in her family.
Because as me growing up, and she was my mom, we didn't do that. So
yes, anyways. Exactly.
So where are we?
Wait a minute. Can you say manipulation?
Yeah,
there we go.
Exactly.
Barrier so I can see DNA.
And to eliminate the barrier so I can see that DNA issues come from essence and they can be cleared.
Yes, take a breath. And to eliminate any intense, and to eliminate any resistance I have to seeing that curses and energies are at the root of family problems. Take a breath.
And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that the root causes of my struggles are negative energies.
Yes.
That's the root.
Yes.
Take a breath.
And to eliminate the barriers so I can see that I can influence my DNA by clearing specifically. Take a breath.
And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that illness and disease always has its root in negative energies attached to me.
Take a breath.
Attached to my essence. Take a breath.
And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see the energies attached to me from curses and DNA can be cleared and I can change them. Take a breath. Now, here's the part we didn't get to in the last segment. We're going to activate life force energy. It is the most powerful energy that any of us has access to. And what we're going to do is I'm going to talk everyone through this while we're doing it. And I direct all my resources in all dimensions to activate life force energy. I'm going to pull it in through the top of my head so I can see what gets in my way and clear it, so I can know what gets in my way and clear it and not be afraid of it and clear it starting right now. Pull it in that authentic life force right in through the top of your head. Let it go all the way down your body to the tips of your toes. You want to stop it right there. You want to turn it around and you want to ask it right now to remove any negative energy left over, but yet have it replace where that negative energy once was in your physical body. Take a breath, everyone.
And to activate life force so I can have hope to be authentic with myself by clearing all those old energies.
Take a breath. And to activate life force so I can trust and understand that all the curses and the problems that of DNA can be cleared. I don't have to be a victim to them. Take a breath. Pull it in right in through the top of your head. Remember, it's the most powerful, clean energy that any of us has access to.
So, and to activate life force so I can decide to focus my intention on removing negative energy attached to me in all the ways that it affects me.
Pull it in.
That's the ecosystem approach in a nutshell.
Right there. Pull it in. And now blow out any negative energy left over. And to activate life force so I can be happy and healthy and love and have laughter and see what's standing in my way and know I don't have to be a victim to negative energy anymore. I can clear all of that negative energy and go forward in my life starting right now today. Nice and easy. Pull it in and blow out any negative energy left over. Jason, what are we going to talk about next week?
It's an old fairy tale fable, The Scorpion and the Frog. Okay. It's one of my favorites.
Okay.
And we see that from all the years that we've been doing this work, that many people are like the frog. They keep getting stung by the scorpions in their life.
Yes.
And they should be able to see it. They should be able to see the scorpion when they come forward.
And I'm going to ask you the question, and why can't they?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, there you go.
So, and we're going to talk about that next week. This is a really important show. Don't miss it. If you've ever been stung, the other metaphor I'm going to use is Charlie Brown and Lucy in the football. Oh, I love that one. So we're going to talk about both of those. It's kind of the same thing.
Okay.
The problem with the scorpion and the frog, once the scorpion stings the frog, then that's
over.
Out. But we see that you get, there are a lot of frogs out there that if you're listening, if you're a frog and you get stung all the time, you got to tune into this show.
And by the way, we are going to talk about how not to be the frog anymore.
Yes.
That's definitely. So, Jason?
Well, if something touched you, if you said, oh my gosh, that's me. Oh my gosh, those curses are in my family. Those curses are attached to me, and I want to get rid of those. Or I have this, I thought it was DNA, but I think it could be something else.
Okay.
So what do you do?
Okay.
So, so to make the ecosystem approach a bigger part of your life.
Well, I was just going to ask you, Jason, how can me and the audience out there make the ecosystem a bigger part of our lives?
We've made it very simple. Listen to our show every week. Every week we talk about a different aspect of applying this energy approach to life in a different way in your life. And what we talk about defies description often. But so that's the first thing. Then second, sign up for our free section. We have go to our website, theecosystemapproach.org. There's a free subscription area. It gives you access to a lot of content.
Right.
You can have a picture of the processor and download it and print it out so you can use it. And it's all free.
Okay.
And you'll also get the weekly clearings written out for you. It's all written out for you. A picture of the processors there in the newsletter, and a little bit about the show afterwards. So
well, and you know what? And I know you have more to say, but I was talking to a client this week, and this client said that they had traveled to Europe, and they spent an hour each day listening to the show because they were going to miss two of our shows, and they said they enjoyed it so much. And of course, they ended up laughing and then clearing and really enjoying it. So
it's a great thing to do together as a couple. So
exactly.
Sign up for our free subscription service, theecosystemapproach.org. And then go to our Facebook page, theecosystemapproach.org. Like us. There's a lot of videos there. You can see us as opposed to listen to us, and be part of the fun that we're having together.
Exactly. We'll connect next week, Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific and 4 p.m. Eastern Time. This is Transformation Talk Radio, and you're listening to the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia.
Remember, your ecosystem is the most important one in the world.
Thank you for listening to the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia. I'm Patricia. Tune in every week as we discuss practical ways to apply the ecosystem approach and develop your potential to live your life on your terms. For more information, visit our website at theecosystemapproach.org.